So we start right in the middle of the tension at Oscorp. It is early morning, and we see Aunt May, yes, May Parker, standing at the front desk. And she is not happy. The receptionist keeps giving her the runaround, saying Norman doesn't take casual visitors off the street. May is desperate. She snaps back, saying her coming here is the last resort of a very desperate woman. She demands to see Norman to discuss her nephew. This puts May directly in the crosshairs of what is about to happen. The stakes rise immediately. Oscorp is not just a battlefield for Norman anymore. Peter's family is physically inside the building. Suddenly, Spider-Man, suited by Mr. Osborn, crashes out through the roof of the floor. He is fighting the Goblin Slayers. We get a glimpse inside Norman's head, and it is a dark place. He describes his heart as a cave. Sometimes it is quiet, but right now it is a chamber of screams. We see Norman, suited up in Spider-Man-style gear, completely swarmed by these new Slayers. They look high-tech, brutal, and efficient. The internal monologue reveals that Norman feels like he is drowning in his own riotous screams. The Slayers announce that the bill has come due. They call themselves the Goblin Slayers, and they are here to collect their pound of flesh. The psychological weight is heavy. Norman is fighting for his life, but at the same time, he seems to believe he deserves this. The sequence then reveals the architects of this nightmare. We cut to a control room filled with shadowy figures and glowing monitors. There is a woman named Electo and an older bearded man. The bearded man praises the branding of the Slayers, calling it menacing. This conversation is crucial for the lore. Electo talks about compassion, but the bearded man shuts it down. He reveals that he is the only one in the room who was also infected with the Goblin Serum. He claims he purged himself of the cancer and now wants to cut it out of the world. This bearded man is Roderick Kingsley, the Hobgoblin, claiming moral superiority over Norman. They see Norman as a tumor that needs to be removed, even if healthy cells, civilians, are lost in the process. This is a revenge squad made up of former goblins and victims. Meanwhile, the fight between Spider-Man and the Goblin Slayers continues. At the same time, we see a very different kind of emergency. At Rand Applied, a hazmat unit rushes a patient toward a helicopter. It is Brian. Mara Osmani Milton, Peter's current boss, is shouting orders. She is told that he is too insubordinate to die. There is mention that AQ was green, but they do not know what he inhaled. This points back to the chemical attack from issue 18. Mara is frantic and demands they figure out what the hell he's got in his body. She looks at her phone and wonders, "Where the hell are you, Peter?" Chaos is unfolding on two fronts at once. Next, we cut to Ben Reilly. He is wrapped in a towel with Janine sitting right beside him. His phone is buzzing with a call from Peter's boss, Mara. He ignores it. He says the only woman he answers to is already in the room. He cracks a joke, saying the only me he wants to be is Ben Reilly. This moment feels like the calm before the storm. He thinks he is done with the chaos for now, completely unaware that Peter's aunt is trapped inside Oscorp and his colleague Brian is suffering from a chemical attack. It creates a painful dramatic irony, where the hero is resting while the world is on fire. Back at Oscorp, Norman is getting hammered. He tries to appeal to the Slayers, shouting that there are innocent people in the building. The Slayers throw it right back in his face. They reject his hero act. One pilot screams that Norman did not care about innocent people when he rained pumpkin bombs on 6th Avenue years ago. They start listing specific victims: Doreen, Margaret, Timothy. Another pilot says Norman destroyed his home and business while playing Avenger, killing 8 employees. It is brutal. Norman starts to disconnect, wondering if his rage is aimed at them or at himself. He realizes he cannot even count the dead. Dozens, hundreds. He decides to draw the fire away from the civilians, trying to prove he has changed, even if his enemies do not care. He asks them to let the building clear, and then they can discuss this like the monsters they are. They refuse. The Slayers say the civilians are not innocent, calling them people living off the wealth of a monster. They want to bring the entire Temple of Horror, Oscorp, crashing down. Norman gets pinned. In desperation, he asks himself what Peter would do. He tries to find his center, his mantra. But the Slayers keep naming names. General McFadden, Lieutenant Berg. These are S.H.I.E.L.D. agents Norman killed during his Dark Reign era. Norman finally snaps. He tries to fight back, but the Goblin Slayers remind him that the crocodile never thinks about the gazelles it devours. Norman struggles to maintain control, but the monster inside him is right there, just beneath the surface. The Slayers hold him completely restrained. They tell him it does not matter whether he wears a business suit or a spider mask. To them, he is still an animal. They reveal who they truly are. Victims turned victors, a legion. Then they strike at his deepest weakness. The lead Slayer, Alecto, taunts him about weakness. Norman's mind snaps back to a childhood memory with his father, who told him that weakness would take everything from him. We see the flashback clearly. Norman's father holds a young Norman over water, drowning him like a flea-ridden cat. He screams that empathy is a physical weakness and that it will destroy him. In that moment, everything about Norman's broken psyche makes sense. He was taught that caring equals death. His father tells him to let the rest of the world go to hell and that only family matters. Back in the present, Norman is fading fast. Alecto raises her hand to deliver the killing blow, when suddenly a web line slams into her. A voice cuts through the chaos saying, "I'll take it from here." Norman stammers, barely able to speak, recognizing the voice. Battered and half maskless, Norman looks up and realizes Kingsley is behind all of this. He remembers Kingsley claiming he had nothing to do with the attempts on his life. Now, Norman understands it was a lie. Kingsley worked with Alecto to finish him off. The Slayers shift their stance, declaring they have been collecting goblins like ugly little Pokemon. They want to erase the Osborn legacy completely. Norman's goblins are already gone, and Kingsley threatens him with the truth that his bloodline is next. Little Normie and Stanley are all that remain now. We cut back to the villain control room. The tension between Kingsley and Alecto is boiling over. Kingsley wants to go after the children, Normie and Stanley, Norman's grandkids. Alecto, surprisingly, becomes the voice of restraint. She says they did not agree to this. Kingsley argues that leaving the kids alive means they will eventually go cuckoo like Pop Pop, and the cycle will start all over again. He wants to end it now, but Alecto fires back that if they kill the kids, they are no better than Osborn himself. She wants to stop the mission from turning into a slaughter. Kingsley calls her soft. It is clear that Alecto is losing control of her own kill squad. Seconds later, pure chaos erupts as the Goblin Slayers come under attack. The cavalry has arrived. We see Miles Morales, Gwen Stacy, Silk, and others crashing into the fight. The Spider team is confused. They shout, "What the heck are these? Osborn Slayers?" The Spider family tears through the robots. Gwen quips, "Sounds like a party. Never invite me to one of your parties." The tide begins to turn. It is a powerful moment. The Spiders uniting to save their worst enemy simply because it is the right thing to do. Kingsley snaps, declaring that any friend of Norman's is an enemy of theirs. The situation becomes frantic. The Spider team starts taking heavy hits. Miles shouts orders telling Kintsugi to clear out the civilians. The team rallies around one rule: start with "don't die." Osborn shouts at Kingsley to let the team go, saying this is his fight. The Spider family stays focused on the Slayers as chaos spreads through the building. Civilians are in danger and the Slayers deliberately target them. We see the Spiders shielding people with their own bodies. The Slayers are relentless. Inside Norman's mind, the words "empathy is weakness" echo again, his father's voice screaming in his head. Explosions rock the lobby. Parts of Oscorp are blown apart. Miles takes a brutal hit as the Slayers use lethal force without hesitation. Norman battles a massive Slayer and yells for them to let the others go. He is still down, but he forces himself back to his feet. We cut to Kingsley in the control room again, and for the first time, he looks uneasy. One of the operators controlling the Slayers asks, "Kingsley?" Kingsley calmly responds that they should stay calm, reminding him they have not played their hand yet. It becomes clear that what we are seeing is only the first wave. Kingsley still has an ace up his sleeve. Norman throws himself back into the fight, using his tech to tear a Slayer apart. Aunt May, just rescued by Kintsugi, watches from the sidelines. She is terrified, but she is also starting to understand something. She shakily thanks him and asks if that Spider-Man really is Norm. Kintsugi cuts her off, apologizing and saying he has to go because people still need help. Aunt May watches Norman Osborn act like a real hero, saving her life. It is a massive moment for her. At the same time, Kingsley orders the control room to deploy the reserves. The Spider team starts getting overwhelmed. Miles, Gwen, and Silk stand back to back. Silk shouts that he is losing it, talking about Osborn. Norman taunts the enemy, trying to draw them in and end it himself. He yells at the Spider team to get out and let him clean his own house. He still sees this as his burden alone. He tries to protect the younger Spiders. He asks Kintsugi if he knows who he is and what he has done in the past. Kintsugi answers yes, but asks who he is today, saying that is all that matters right now. In that moment, Norman looks at him and sees not a warrior with powers, but just a kid with a shield and a heart. Then a sound cuts through the moment. Someone asks what that sound is. The reserves arrive. It is a horde. Gwen shouts, "How are there more of them?" The Oscorp lobby floods with even more Goblin Slayer robots. Norman's thoughts return. He thinks about the Slayers believing they have clarity, believing they will fulfill their promise with Kingsley's backing, turning this building into a tomb. Then his thoughts shift to the Spider team. He thinks of them like his children. They are strong, but they are not used to the fog of war. They do not need a berserker among them. They do not need a petulant billionaire with unresolved trauma. They need leadership. They need a Spider-Man. Norman and Gwen move in perfect sync. Norman smashes through a robot and shouts for Gwen to stay low as a laser beam sweeps over them. He saves her at the last second. Gwen thanks him, and Norman calmly tells her she is welcome. It is a brief moment of trust and teamwork. Together, through skill and coordination, they start pushing back the reserves. Just when it looks like they might win, tragedy strikes. Norman, now in his classic suit, gets distracted for a split second. A Slayer's blade lunges out. Gwen screams no. The weapon pierces Norman and slashes him brutally across the torso. Blood sprays everywhere. It is bad, really bad. Norman collapses against the rubble. Gwen catches him, holding him up as his suit is torn and soaked with blood. She screams for help, shouting that Spider-Man is down, that Spider-Man is down. The issue ends with Norman Osborn bleeding out in the ruins of Oscorp.